Good morning, everybody. How you doing this morning? So we're going to continue to do the work that we were just doing with our ongoing structure and stuff like that we were doing with the Polaris and stuff like that. So we're working today on our continuing program with the 3D model of the Polaris. So one of the things we need to do, and we kind of have to figure this stuff out, is we've got to figure out how to we've got to figure out a few things, like how wide is a street? Because one of the problems we're going to run into here is we need to set up everything. Now, I feel like the streets of the Polaris are probably not huge boulevards. I think if you're on one of these things, either A, you just walk from place to place, or you take little personal one-person scooters to get from one side of the town to the other, probably electric of some sort. There's no need for anything elaborate. We don't need really big transports unless they are moving from one side to the other. The truth is, I feel like that underneath the city is probably a great big internal structure of some sort, moving things. Because if you've got the ability to build a city from scratch, you can build it 2 decks high, and underneath it would be the transport tubes for large things, trucks and things like that transport a large amount of things. So really the only thing you need on the top surface is people, you and me, going from point A to point B. That's our job. We're trying to get to the store to buy something, or we got to go to the hobby store to get something for our painting miniatures, which is what we do. So that's my thought. So the streets are only going to be about the width of just a normal city street, maybe a Japanese street. So how wide is an average Japanese street? And let's go for rural. Two-way street is probably not actually 33 millimeters wide. And this looks like this is somebody who's doing in-scale modeling, which is fine. That's beautiful. In-scale modeling is great. This is perfect. Roads and highways. Typical urban 2-lane expressways have a shoulder of 1/2 meter for a total width of 7.5 meters. Okay. Urban 2-lane, that's cool. On-street parking is prohibited, so let's see here. Avenue with 7 lanes, bidirectional road with side lines. So what I'm doing here is I'm just looking at this web page. This web page is for model trains, but it's for model trains with Japanese setups. So we're going to go for that one, and that should be good. That should be good. So what we're trying to do here is decide, how big is this? How big is the Polaris, right? We know that, and the best way to do this is just take a road, one of these little roads, and measure it. How many pixels is that? Let's find out. So, 2-lane side street, 2-lane road, no parking, about 4 meters. So, 4 meters. Cool. That gives us a good thing to start with. That's going to be, let's go ahead and switch you over here. When we're talking about the city itself, that means we know that this is 4 meters somehow, right here. This is 4 meters, right? So there's 4 meters there. That's going to be 4 squares on, that's still a tight road, very, very narrow. That's Japanese size. 4 meters means that two fully grown men lying with their feet in the gutters will almost touch their heads to each other in the center of the road. It does mean that a normal-sized car would probably have to pull over a little bit and let somebody pass. They'd have to go very slow. Nobody's going to go fast in a vehicle through these roads. Okay, so we know, though, that makes this 4 meters. So we're going to take the measurement tool, which is this ruler here, right? We're going to measure across the street here, right? And what we end up with is 33 pixels across. By the way, today is a short show, so we're going to be done at 11 o'clock today. I've got to take my child to the museum, and so we're going to be going short today, so that's all right. So we got 33 pixels equals 4 meters. Okay? Let's see what that has to do with the price of rice. So let's find out. Let's see here. So we're going to take a calculator. And by the way, I know that we've got no audio or music at this point in time. I don't know if we have audio, but I know that we don't have music. And I was going to load music up and then adjust the thing, and I didn't. 33 divided by 4 gives us 8.25 pixels, or 8.25 pixels to a meter. I'm just going to round it down. And that gives us that ability right there. So, what does that tell us about this map? We have, wow, everything's running really slow. There we go. Right now, we're at 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels. So, 5,000 divided by 8 gives us 625 meters to a side. That seems a bit small. I don't know. Does this seem like about the size of, so 625 meters? Let's do 5,000 divided by 9. It's not helping us any at all. So 625. What is the size of, say, a small city? Let's check that. Size, or circumference, maybe? No. Diameter. Right? That's not telling me anything. Because everything, of course, in the real world is judged by length. So, if it requires the real world, let's do a real world search, shall we? Let's do maps.google.com. Maps.google.com. So a lot of drawing sometimes takes place with research, I've noticed. Bondo, Japan. Yeah, there's a Bondo, Oregon. Who knew? Okay. Looking at Bondo, this is a city that I'm very familiar with. This was my hometown when I was in Japan, and no, go away. So I'm looking at this is roughly about the size of where I was living at the time. It was right on the Tonegawa, the Tone River, right? And I lived out in here, in this area, actually, more in Bandoshi direct. So, let's look at this city. We know that Bondo is roughly the size of my city, give or take. Okay. I apologize, guys, but I have to go deal with my child. I am deeply apologetic for that, guys. Okay. When we look at where I was, I lived in this part of town here. I love Yamada Denki. And what I'm doing here is I'm just looking through this part of town here. Good. And what I really should do, I have a grid right here. And this looks like pretty much the kind of city that we're talking about for... There's an izakaya. Arai Sushi. Not much has changed, really, since I was here 10 years ago. There's the Shiakusho, that's the city hall. And this is a park. Right? So, let's just... Hey, Brent, how you doing? We are trying to figure out how big the Polaris is. Futema. Where's Futema? I don't see Futema. Did I pass it? Oh, yakisoba. Okay, fair. So it is break time. That's all right. I'm only broadcasting for an hour today because we've got to go to the museum. So, this here is Bondo. This is the city I lived in when I was in Japan. And, it's in Okinawa. Okay, yeah. Okinawa. I never made it to Okinawa when I was there. It's one of my regrets. If nothing else, I absolutely adore the Okinawan accent. They are so adorable. The Okinawan accent is so cute. Konnichiwa. It's very, very adorable. So, okay, here's what we're going to do. I already have a scale on this map. I already have city pieces on this map. So I'm going to just capture the map, right? That seems like a thing. We know that this is how big this is, so we're going to cancel that. And we're going to say new clipboard. And we'll just paste in the map, right? I mean, that'll capture everything here. We know and this will give us a good scale. That's funny. Okay, so down here we've got a scale of 100 feet. So we can take this 100 feet and we can go over here to 20, right? And take a look at what's going on in here. This 100 feet right here from center pixel to center pixel measures 63 pixels. Okay? 63 pixels equals 100 feet. Going across the street here, this is a big street. This is where they would hold we could hold entire... Hello, Patsy. I can't see you yet, but I'm assuming you'll be here somewhere along the line. This large street, they would hold fairs and stuff like that. So we know that. So that's, it looks like 18. Let's do 19. 19 pixels equals one street. That's 20. Okay, so as in highway 20, which doesn't really matter. So means that that's 5 1/4 times. See, I like how this comes out of order for me. Brent says, hello, Patsy. And then Patsy says, hi, Brent. Hi, Guy. At reversed order on my, so it looks like you're like responding to Brent, and Brent just knew using telepathy that you were there. And it was just, that's so funny. Okay. So 5 1/4 times, we'll say 5 times, to 100 feet. Right? Which makes some sense. So Patsy, this is my hometown. When I was in Japan, this was my hometown. So this is what they called Bondo or Iwai. When I was there, it was called Iwai. And the cool part is this little signal right here has this like ring. Oh, she appeared on with a. So it is in the right order. And so this was literally where I lived when I was in Japan, and I think that's kind of cool. So let's see here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to determine how wide is a street, right? How wide is 354? And it looks like it's about 30 feet wide, would be my guess. Okay. It looks like it's about 30 feet wide for that. So about 10 meters. That's a pretty big street. And that seems about right. Right? 2-lane, large street, large 2-lane side street. Seven lanes at intersection. See, these guys just, I don't know. I feel like Japanese streets are okay. So there we go. I'm just trying to figure out exactly how wide I want to make this street, right? I don't want to make it too wide, but so if we're assuming that a normal road there, now we're looking at the Polaris, and we're looking at the Polaris's main roads here, right? This is the city design that I've made. So if we're looking at this as being about 10 meters, right? We can measure that out, and let's see what we get. Measure it out. That's 62. Oh, man, this is so much math. 62 equals, so 62 pixels, 100 feet. Let's go for 10 meters. So 62 pixels equals 10 meters. That's our scale. You think 10 meters is narrow? Because that's what I'm thinking too. I feel like that's... Now, like I was saying, I know I kind of, you weren't here at the very beginning of this one, but what I was thinking was most of these streets in the Polaris are for foot traffic or extraordinarily light vehicles, bicycles, motorcycles that are electric, probably electric motorcycles. So one person transport, maybe smart car sized cars, but nothing larger than that. Any large traffic will be on the deck below it, which will have huge transport tubes that get you from one end of the city to the other, so that you can, if I need to ship flowers to the store, I'm about to ship flowers to the store, they would have a room in the store which has an elevator down to, you go down to the shipping district, if you will, where there'd just be large trains that just zoomph and you grab stuff. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the Japanese streets were extraordinarily narrow. 10 meters was 356, which was the big street through the middle of town. And that was the street that they used for like Natsumatsuri. Whenever we had our summer festivals and stuff like that, they'd line the streets with booths, and you just walk through the middle of the street, and everybody would be in the middle of the street. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm feeling like this plaza right here is the large downtown plaza, and these are the large artery streets that are going along the outside edge here. So these are the guys that I would feel would be the 354 of that. So those should be 10 meters. These little streets in here should be much smaller and much more narrow. So they would be a reasonably smaller size. So, but if we can get this plaza road here, and we know that now 62 equals 10, then we take, so that's 6.2 to a meter. That's even smaller. That's not what we want. Oh, maybe it is 6.2 pixels. So let's just say 6 pixels to a meter. Then we take okay, that sounds a little bit better, because now we're 833 meters across. So getting closer to 1 kilometer. And I really kind of want the city to be about 1 kilometer-ish in each direction, right? So the closer we get to 5 pixels per meter, the better. Because that puts us at almost exactly 1 click across. And I think that's pretty fair for a tiny city, is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer footprint. I mean, to be fair, these are large starships, these transit ships. So what would happen if we did do 5 pixels per, right? So we take this guy and we say we want him to be 50 pixels. That's 5 meters. No, that's 10 meters right there. So that makes these streets slightly larger than 10 meters. But what about this guy right here? Where is he? He's 21, right? That's 4 meters. The streets are 4 meters, or 3 meters, which is what that web page was saying was 3 meters wide, was what standard little streets, narrow streets. So that works. That works. Okay, so what we can do is we can make this map read 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer, which makes total sense. That's logical. And that will put it with 5 pixels per meter. Okay, good. So what we will do is we will put that down here. We'll say 5 pixels equals 1 meter as the grid to this map, and that works. Right? So a human would be right about 8 pixels, 9 pixels tall in this picture. Right? Does that seem like that's fair? Probably. We're going to save this as Charzoline. I may change that name. One. Now, Box is in Daz Studio, switching over to Daz, and we look at our city that we've already built. Part of what we're doing here is figuring out what our city is, right? That's part of what's going on here. So, this is where things are going to get funky because we need our large size everything, right? So this is this cube, which is the floor of things. That's going to be just this local neighborhood. And now we know how big that is. We can figure out what the local neighborhood's going to be. I wish there was a better way to zoom out than to do this way. Because I don't think I can just select this camera as a camera. I think the only camera I can select is main. And put its general. Main. We can go minus 55. Way out here, right? So what I'm doing now is just setting up the camera. So I want him not minus 5500. And we can repeat it straight down. Good morning, Donald. It's a short show today. We're only going to be broadcasting till 11. We're figuring out how big is the Polaris. All right. So that's our first mission for the day. So this is the outer shell. And if we assume, right, you can see your house from here. If we assume that there is 5 pixels to a meter, and we're going to have 5,000 pixels wide, so we know that this dome needs to be in size. It needs to be the dome's going to start as 1 meter by 1 meter. So it needs to be scaled, this outer shell needs to be scaled to it needs to be scaled to 5,000, right? That's what we need, is 5,000. Does that sound right? Let's hope we did our math right, because otherwise we're going to end up with a shell somewhere else. Where'd the shell go? This is how we play a shell game, guys. So is New York City a kilometer? Is that the story? Brent's saying that a click is about the size of New York City. And I assume you're talking about Manhattan Island. So I'm going to take all of these guys and ship them around. 10,000. So, okay. Now we're way up here. This is how we straighten stuff out. Okay. Way up here. We need to go the other direction. Maybe lower Manhattan. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. One more zero. There we go. That's what we're after. So this outer shell, but first things first, let's turn that outer shell off. Where is this is the space shell. Space shell. We're going to go ahead and just move this down here so that I can find it. Guess not. Okay. So the space shell's off. And this is cube 7. Cube 7's width, if we're looking at this, is -2. Its scale is 55%. 55% of 1 meter. So it seems weird. Like, it seems like it's... Oh, that's why. Our Y scale is extraordinarily distorted here. So 100 and 100 makes this a massive cube. Because I made it that way. Okay, we're going to delete that cube because that's not helping us any. Now we can finally see the dome. I don't think this outer shell's the right size. I think I'm off because it says 5,000, but it wouldn't be because it'd be 50,000. There we go. That's the right size. Because it's, if 100 equals 1, so it's 50,000 centimeters. Everything's going to be in centimeters. Now let's turn the outer shell off for a moment. Okay, create. Now I think I've got it now. New primitive. And this we're going to say is 1,000 meters. Right? Accept. This guy then will have a scale of 0 or 0.001 in the y-axis, so he's not that big here. Dang it, that's the outer shell. Where's the cube that we just created? Is that you? That's you. Okay. That's not you. Where are you? There. Floor. Let this be a lesson to everyone who has not thought about the idea of properly identifying all of your 3D objects. 0.001. Oh, now it's inside the city. You can see the city down there. So now we can take this guy and we can say surfaces, floor, diffuse color, browse. Guess we'll get it somewhere along the line. There we go. Textures, resources. It's easier for me to see things over here. Buildings and surfaces. Charceline. There we go. Okay. Now the camera. This is showing now pretty much. Oh, no, it's not showing the right thing. We need this to be a plane. Create new primitive plane. We'll make this 1,000 meters. Accept. Now that's right. Because the problem we had before was, as a cube, it's wrapping that entire thing around it like a Christmas present. We don't want a Christmas present. We need a plane. So we're going to take surfaces, plane, diffuse, browse. Now we'll get Charceline. There we go. That looks much better, right? Take the camera, and we're going to have to even go out further. Maybe 100,000. And maybe even more than that. There we go. Didn't need to be that much. Christmas present. Okay. Now the center of this is going to be our shopping district, which is right here. Maybe it's right here. It's right here. So we want this to be right there. And so that whenever we look at, what we should do though, first put that outer shell on. Oh, look at that. It's like it was made to do this. Outer shell to plane 3. And what I'm doing is I'm linking these two together. Okay. You made the end credits. Hey, you know what? That means you can see the end credits. Something's going right. So when I do this, and I select this, now look at that. You can see the dome around the outside of the city. And now we actually can see the dome isn't sitting directly on the city like it's supposed to. But check it. Now you actually can kind of see the city under the dome. And now we're getting a little bit of a better idea of what Sharsaline will look like, right, as far as the city goes. Everything matches, and everything is in the same place, and all of that stuff. Now we just need to make it so that it all works. That looks awesome, doesn't it? That just looks really cool. So now we're going to do the downtown district. Those big buildings that we were making before, we're going to do those as a downtown district, and they'll be in the right scale, so you'll be able to see them now. So let's go on ahead and real quickly, let's turn off that outer shell, and let's start talking about the downtown district. I'm going to create a new camera, and I'm going to call this local, because we're going to need a local camera to be close. Right now, this main camera is thousands of meters away from the city. So these are local cameras, and you can even see here, we're so close now to when you put like human-sized figures in here, we're so close that there is no way. So this guy that represents the one of the skyscrapers, he is way too small. I can already see that. He is so the grid down here, these grids are 1 meter by 1 meter. So the footprint of this building is 1 meter by 1 meter. We already can tell that this is too small. The building is this wide. So, okay. And this is one of the biggest buildings in downtown, right? So we got to make him a little bit better. We know that each floor is about 3 meters at best between floors, maybe even 4, depending on how big it is. So we know we got to scale him up. So let's try 1,000 meters or 1,000%. Let's not try that. Okay, did I select the right cube? Yeah, okay. Let's name these guys. Right, it's a small, tall building. Downtown skyscraper 01. There we go. Him. Is this the scale for him? What's the story? Oh, it's the camera. That's why I'm on camera controls. There. That'll help a whole lot. So if we make him larger, now he's 3 meters, right? So now he's 3 meters. It's always meters. I do everything in metric. I was in Japan long enough that it just fits better in my world. So we're going to take then the main view, and we still can't see him, right? But we're going to put him downtown. Downtown is right. Actually, he's not far from downtown. Sharsaline needs to move over. Luckily, the outer shell will move with Sharsaline, so we're going to take Sharsaline now, and we're going to move it over because we're concentrating on the shopping district, which is, where is it? There. This is where the entire map is going to be, is right there. So let's look at Downtown Skyscraper 1, and we're going to move. Now let's look at Downtown Skyscraper number 1. We're going to move him downtown, right? Because that's one of these guys right here. Okay. We're going to scale until he starts to make sense. That looks a lot more like it. And so we'll do 3,500. He's actually really close. And we'll do that right there, this guy right here. He's actually really close to where we were. as far as downtown goes. Actually, let's make him this building because it looks closer to what that building looks like right there. There we go. So now if we put the dome back onto Charceline, he's still well under the dome. So there's no issue there. It's not going to be a big deal. The only problem I'm now seeing is, look at the elevator. The elevator, which is supposed to be the route to the upper floors up here, is well off center. In fact, it looks like the elevator is not going to help anybody anywhere. So that may just be the elevator down, and going up is going to be a little bit more complicated. Either that or this is going to have to be crooked in some way. But let's just not worry about that at the moment. Okay. Turn off the outer shell. Now that we've done that, let's go for some of the other skyscrapers downtown, right? So we'll go back to our local. And now if we look downtown, we can see the large building downtown. Right? That's a huge building. And this guy, actually let's take this guy. We'll take cube 5 and make him a subgroup of cube 4. Skyscraper restaurant. Scale him up. It scales up. Now that I've made this guy a subgroup, we know that they're going to have to be about 1,500, right, already. So let's go out for the main. And this is one of these little buildings on the side right here. Right there. We'll actually make him... No, 1,500's about right. And go to local again. This guy here. He's another downtown skyscraper. Smaller skyscraper. He's another 2,000. Right? We'll go to main. We'll move him to, let's say, right here. Right. Now, when you look at downtown, we're starting to build in an actual downtown. Right? You can start to see these larger structures on the outside of downtown, so that's going to help a little. When we render this, it's going to look more like the top of Charceline. Right? We're going to have, it should be centered around that. We're going to have the ability to see all the little buildings inside Charceline. Another thing we should do here is turn the surfaces light up on this. Ambient color. Work. There we go. So we can actually see what's going on. The other thing that this is important about is there is an exit port right here in the grid. And so this should actually exist right here by the spaceport. This is a docking area and stuff like that. So once we figure out where that is on the dome, I can actually build in the structure right here for the landing port and the big docking doors. And you should be able to take in a huge ship there. If you're moving in buildings wholesale, you dock right here by the base, and it becomes a thing. So, okay, we're moving in now. So now when we look at this and we hit render, there we go. You can see now the outside of the dome. And I'm actually going to put black lines around all of the dome pieces so you'll be able to see those easier. It won't be so difficult to see from up here. But yeah, I mean, this is going to work just fine. Okay, let's go back to local. Now what we've got is we've got these little stores here. And I can already see the block that I live on right here. And we're going to have to fix this a little bit. Everybody is going to materialize in this right here on this part of the street. So I'm going to take Charceline. I'm going to drop her down just a little bit. Just a hair. So Charceline bed is now 3 meters lower. You can see downtown from here. And now they look like larger buildings around the outside of town. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually get rid of these planes for the moment because we don't need them. And these people, they're a little small. Everything's a little small. Okay, so we take this cube and this cube. This is our bistro, right? And the bistro roof. The reason that's important is going to be a subgroup of the bistro. Otherwise, when I enlarge the bistro, he's now, let's put him at 100%. So that's 1 meter wide. The bistro is not going to be 1 meter wide. But for right now, we're just going to do that. And he's a little guy. We'll move him off the street. Now, I'm going to do new. Cancel. Create primitive. Luckily, it caught me there. Now let's look at this next piece. I don't have this next piece up. So Charceline can be saved. We're now going to talk about this little district right here. Okay. So that's the next big thing. What we're going to do is we're going to open recent shopping district 1. This is the little district now that these are the houses, the housing units and stuff like that. And this is where that bistro is going to go, is right here. So this is the bistro's footprint. We know that that's where it's going to live. So how big, though, is that? So let's go check it out. That's a little shopping district just next to the base. That's this section right here. From the map, we know from the tip here to the other side is just about 100 pixels. Okay. That's going to be 20 meters. Ish, maybe? 20 meters. Let's give or take. Give or take, that's 20 meters. So from here to here should be 20 meters. This is a much more detailed map because I am actually going to want to see people on this street. So this is where this map is on the grand scheme of things. So that's 20 meters. And that's 3,300. Man, this is difficult. Okay, so and what I should have done was figure out what I was doing with this before I cut this out. 1 meter equals 166 pixels. So we need to make a pivot or a palette in here. That is 30 meters. Okay, this is the new palette. So this, hopefully, if we did it right, which we might not have, always a possibility. Surfaces, Shopping District 1, diffuse color, browse. Shopping District 1 there. About 3 squares wide for the street. Looks like we might have done it right. Well, that's amazing. We're involving math, and I did it right. I'm shocked. I tell you, shocked. Okay, the bistro now moved over to his spot and rotated. And then we can enlarge him. Like that. Move him to the correct place. Make sure he's the right size. And it's a little teeny bistro, so it's not supposed to be massive, right? And this is just a little guy bistro. But make sure our shopping district has the same rules as everyone else. The color should be white. There we go. You can see the road now. So this is from the little across the street thing. And now, theoretically, if we put a maquette in here, like, let's say Genesis 2, Genesis 2 male, we'll load a maquette. Why is it loading an image? It's all mad. We'll load a maquette in here. And in theory, everything will scales properly. So that our dude, yeah, it doesn't look like it's scaled exactly right. So our bistro needs to be a little bit larger. Which makes sense, and that's okay. Now we know, right? So if we make the bistro large enough that, oh, he went inside. Tell me what the food's like, man. You're inside the building. Tell me what the food's like. Make this large enough. Let's say 5. There we go. It is still a tiny bistro. That's the whole idea. It's not supposed to be a big bistro, right? Okay. Now we have done the corrections that we need to make. And Viola, we have made the first in-runs on an actual map that would look like a reasonable city. You can see the large skyscrapers now are in the background. We can see the grid up there at the top. He's standing on a street that's probably too small. So we'll have to see. But if we look from the main point of view, way back out here, no matter which way you put it, he's still quite a ways out, right? So from this point of view and this perspective, I can already tell one of the things is that the local shopping district doesn't match, right? Just looking from this point of view in already, one of the things I can tell is this local shopping district doesn't match this size here, right? So we can enlarge that until it matches this, and that'll help a whole lot, right? There we go. There. Now, from here, we can already kind of see, does it need to be rotated? Oh, that's the wrong rotation. That's the wrong rotation. Right, we can kind of see through it now when we do this. But now the district matches and the road matches. Cool. This guy can then be connected to Charceline, so that whenever we move Charceline as a whole, like this, the shopping district will move with it, right? And we probably should take the skyscrapers and make them part of Charceline too. And I'm going to have to leave pretty soon. We're going to go to the museum today, my son and I, so we're going to head out to the museum, and we have to be there by noon, and it's across on the other side of town. So that's all the show we've got for today. You can see me on Monday, and all will be good, and we can discuss more of this. We may actually go back and check out where Charceline is on Monday and kind of check in on that shopping district that I just built, because that's a big shopping district, and we'll see where the bistro looks and how everything works. So, okay, thank you guys for being with me today, and I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, and it's great to have you here. Thanks. Bye-bye.